After months of insisting that his chaotic and possibly illegal tariffs were genius, Trump is backing down amid voter anger over high prices and everyday affordability. In doing so, Trump is admitting, without admitting, that the Trump tariffs raise prices for American consumers. CNBC reports President Donald Trump on Friday exempted key agricultural imports like coffee, cocoa, bananas, and certain beef products from his higher tariff rates. Trump's action Friday also exempts a range of fruits, including tomatoes, avocados, coconuts, oranges, and pineapple. Along with coffee, the tariff reductions extend to black and green tea and spices like cinnamon and nutmeg. In a moment, I'm going to explain to you what all those things have in common, or at least all of them except beef. The reversal comes as voters are blaming Trump for failing to get inflation under control. An NBC News poll shows that nearly two-thirds, 63% of registered voters, including 30% of Republicans, say that Donald Trump has fallen short of their expectations on the cost of living and the economy. And from the Associated Press NORC poll, just 33% of adults approve of Donald Trump's handling of the economy. While the Trump White House scrambles to sell its economic narrative despite high prices and rising layoffs in the job market, Vice President JD Vance went on Fox last night to let the perhaps older viewers there know that they don't have to worry because the Trump team has total command of the economy of the future. Listen to Vance describe what he thinks will happen in a future where AI-powered robots can do most of the work.
I don't think that we're going to ever eliminate the construction industry in this country just because you've got robots. What you're going to have is a lot of construction workers who are using those robots, who are directing those robots, who are actually able to do more with less because they're using technology to help them. You're always going to need construction workers in this economy, but I want their wages to go up. And I think if we lean into technology, that's what's going to happen.
They'll wire the house, they'll put in insulation, they'll put up the wallboard, they'll paint the wallboard, and then the finish work, in comes the craftsman. I'm not so sure that the AI is going to be able to do that, at least in the short term, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Look, I think a lot of the craftsmanship, a lot of the direction, a lot of the management, you're going to need a human being to do that. Nobody can replace, no robot can replace a great blue-collar construction worker. You know, you see some of the houses, some of the things they do, the trim that they're able to do. There's an art there that I don't think a robot's ever going to be able to replace. But can a robot maybe make it easier for a construction worker to put more nails and more walls over a shorter period of time? Some of the rote things, in other words, you're going to see, I think, robotics help the construction workers. And I think that's going to lead to higher wages, and it's also going to lead to more homes for American citizens.
President would love it.
Now, look. Nobody knows what's going to happen in the future. There's no question that AI is revolutionary, and we will probably adapt as we have to other technologies. But he sure makes what might be the biggest transition of the century look like a walk in the park. I'm not sure high-paying blue-collar job of the future is trim work, especially when a lot of trim work in new homes in the current economy is pre-cut and bought in bulk. It's not clear at all that very many of what Vance calls America's great blue-collar construction workers are also going to get higher wages to be robot supervisors. But it shows something of the sleight of hand that pervades the Trump team on the economy. Lip service paid to hard-hat, real people jobs on TV, while the administration is pretty focused on serving the tech bro AI billionaires like Elon Musk, and of course, the access to the seemingly bottomless stream of money that comes with them. Joining us now is Justin Wolfers, professor of economics and public policy at the University of Michigan, who does bring nuance to this conversation because one needs to have nuance in the conversation about AI. You pointed out to me the other day, we've had massive transformations historically. We often get to the other side. The transition's the hard part.
Absolutely. But I want to stick with what JD Vance just said because it's so interesting and so revealing. He said if we have robots that come and help Americans become more productive, that allow American workers to move up the value chain, that's really good news. JD Vance's workplace of the future sounds terrific, that there's American workers and there are these two-legged robots walking around helping them and making them be more productive, doing the work the American workers don't want to do. Here's the thing. What if that two-legged robot was called José and was a person? What if he was an immigrant? All of a sudden, JD Vance thinks that's a terrible and horrific future.
Right.
It's utterly revealing. He's totally comfortable with robots coming in to help Americans do the jobs Americans don't want to do. But the moment they're ethnic, they're foreign, they're from across a border, they have a different color of skin, this is the worst thing that could happen to American workers.
It's a good point. Agricultural workers, construction industry, they're all reeling because of these ICE crackdowns because they employ people like you described. It's a good point. If it's a robot, it's not as much of a problem. I will say part of the issue here is that this administration, when we have tough things to deal with and the White House appoints a czar, generally that means we're going to try and figure out how to regulate this thing, or we're going to try and figure out how to fix a broken problem. Our AI czar sort of is signaling that we're not going to regulate this, and this is a free-for-all for now. That's the part that worries me. Like, I love the internet. I love all the things the internet brought. I would like it if we paid a little more attention to regulating at the front end than trying to figure out the harms at the back end.
Absolutely. So, Ali, this is the thing I love about you, and your viewers are just so lucky to have you. This is the most important argument of our generation. If we were in a sane society, this is going to, we understand this is a tidal wave of technological change. It's fundamentally going to change the American workforce and therefore our way of life. And we're not even talking about it because we have to keep up with the outrage of the day. We've got a bearded Yale lawyer who's muttering some stuff to some old people, but this is absolutely central. I'd love to dig in deep and really go all the way with you there, mate.
Yeah, in a real world, we'd be having lots of conversations, and my viewers who are probably consumers of AI, they don't really know how involved they are in it because the fact is it's all around you. You don't have to be using an AI app or AI technology to be interacting with AI on a daily basis. And again, you've made the point that there have been changes of this magnitude in human history, including the internet, the advent of the internet, which is probably the biggest change in our lives.
What's so interesting about this is almost every previous technological revolution, the plow, the steam engine, electricity, has been technology coming in and doing the work of brawn, of muscle. And so the people who lost out of those previous revolutions were basically those who had brawn, big buffy blokes. I don't know whether you're willing to admit this, but that's not guys like you and me,
Right.
Ali. What's different this time is the robots are doing cognitive work. So that means the folks they're coming for this time are white-collar workers. So it's an old script, and to my blue-collar friends, you might say to those of us in the white-collar world, welcome to what I've lived through for the past 40 years, because folks like you and I, Ali, what is it we're good at? We're good at reading a lot of stuff and turning it into straightforward English. What's AI good at? Reading a lot of stuff and turning it into straightforward English.
Yep.
And so many of our viewers are in the same situation that you and I are. We feel like Detroit auto workers in the 1970s.
Right.
And we want to make sure that we get the policy response right this time, not because it's white-collar workers this time, but because we ought to learn from history.
So I had a conversation today with Sean O'Brien, the head of the Teamsters union, and he made an interesting point. He said, we're actually probably better off in the AI revolution than white-collar workers are, meaning Teamsters, for the moment. He said, for the moment, you still need humans to run the kind of machinery Teamsters use and deliver the things that Teamsters use. He did point out that the Teamsters union logo is 2 horses and a cart. He said they were devastated when the combustion engine came in. They definitely thought it was the end of the Teamsters, and they're the biggest union in the country today.
Yep. So, look, the real secret to all of this is it's very easy for us to feel threatened and think about ways which, for the Teamsters, it was that horses could do their work or the combustion engine could do their work. And for us, it's ways in which AI can do our work for us. But look, the real secret here is that if we do it right, and this is the kernel of truth that JD Vance was getting at, if we do it right, what they can do is give each of us a superpower. They can supercharge us. We can be a complement rather than a substitute. And that also means that, for instance, the young students who I'm training right now, I want to train them to be learning skills that are going to be complementary to AI rather than the skills that AI is going to absolutely dominate and beat them at.
So something you said to me a couple months ago was about tariffs on coffee. I think coffee and bananas you might have been mentioning, 2 things that we can't fundamentally expand our production of in the United States. We grow very little of both. Today, the tariffs are coming off of a couple of those things.
Astonishing. So do I get to say right now to the haters and the losers, apology. But you've been right about this all along, Ali, as well. It's actually an astonishing moment. So the White House is saying we're worried about the cost of living. How do we get the cost of living down? We get the tariffs down. That's an explicit admission that the tariffs are being borne by Americans. By the way, that makes this week's other political stunt even more ridiculous. This week's other political stunt is we're going to declare a tariff dividend and send everyone $2,000 checks.
Wild.
Now that the White House is admitting you paid us $2,000, now we're just going to give it back. Do you know what's even more efficient than taking $2,000 from the average American and then giving them back $2,000?
Not taking it in the first place.
My goodness, you should run for Congress.
Yeah. Wild. I think I might be talking to you later this weekend. I want to talk to you about this other thing that's been floated, the 50-year mortgage, and how that's a great idea for banks. Maybe not for everybody else. Justin, great to see you as always. Thank you, my friend.
Pleasure.
Justin Wolfers.